Welcome back, everyone, to Gospel Gossip with Doran and Paula. Say hi, Doran.
Welcome. Hey, everybody. Welcome
We
back.
welcome back. We are so happy to continue. This is part two, and we're talking about Abraham, the patriarch, the father, the mighty man of God that was called, chosen, and this Bible highlights Father Abraham from chapters 12, I believe, to chapter 25. But we just want to, Doran and I just want to get you excited about the Word of God. We don't gossip because we are sold out sisters, but
Mhm.
we do love to whisper and speak out loud the great things that God has shown us, and our walk with Him has been, we have been in this Word. And we just want to highlight some things and get you enticed and get you excited that now is the time to seek the Lord like you've never sought Him before. And how do we seek
Mhm.
the Lord? We seek Him through praying and
Yep.
reading this Word.
Yep. Absolutely.
And just like he walked and talked with Abraham, Abraham was no better than you. He's no better than me. He was no better than anybody. But there were some things about him that the Lord liked, right, Doran?
Absolutely. Because he showed them a lot of favor.
He showed him so much favor. And we
Yeah.
both said last time we want to be like Father Abraham.
Absolutely.
We want to be in that sweet spot with our Father. So I think we left off talking about, all those men who were after his wife, and God just broke them down, and Abraham exited. They said go. They told Abraham it was Pharaoh, wasn't it? Yeah, he was in Egypt, so it was Pharaoh Abraham that asked Abraham to leave, and Abraham, he had a little fear come over him because he was
Mhm.
somewhere he really didn't know the people, he didn't know, but he knew he had this voluptuous, beautiful wife
Mhm.
that all men would be after her, and surely what he was fearing, they were after his wife.
They were. They
And
were.
so he left, and then all things work together for the good. We are really learning this through
Yeah.
Abraham, because he came out of there with so much wealth,
He did.
silver and gold, and cattle or whatever.
Cattle. Yep.
you know so I think, Dory, we kind of just we'll just keep going.
Okay.
um I want to say that he may have been fearful in that situation, but what about when somebody told him that where his nephew Lot was?
Yeah. He started pleading with the Lord and just saying, if you find, can you find 50 people? If you find 50 people,
No,
will
no,
you
no, not
not?
that part. Not that part.
Okay.
Where when Lot was and his whole household was taken captive with the city that he was in. All those kings came together and they were warring, and they took him. They took
Mhm.
Lot and his family. And we're just talking about Abraham being fearful and saying, his wife
He,
was so beautiful. But this time, this shows you that Abraham was really fearless, because what did he do?
he he went and got Lot and his family and took
He,
them on with him. Yep.
he went and took back, and really, more all the people that they had kidnapped. They had took a whole lot of people from Lot City.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, okay, okay. So he may have had a little fear about going into this city, but actually he was a fearless. And I think that's the thing about walking with God, don't you think, that He makes you to be
Yeah.
fearless?
You become bold. You don't even really know why you're doing it, but you have to do it.
Yes,
And so then you just say, okay, let me just go ahead and do it. You have God with you, even though the fear might come over you at first. You just feel like, well, you already know what God has done for you, so He's with you, and you like, I just gotta go do it, and
yes,
that's what He
yes.
did.
And he did it. He went, and to be honest with you, he just straight up kicked them behind.
Hmm.
He he beat those people down who had messed. He was like, "Oh, you messing with my family?
Right, exactly.
Don't mess with folks'
No,
family. You are. Don't mess
absolutely.
with people. Don't mess with the children of God, because when God is in you and for
Mhm.
you, the Bible says, who can be against you, right?
Absolutely. And that's where your power comes in, your force comes in. It's
Yes,
coming from God.
yes. So he was not a fearful person. Really, he wasn't a fearful person.
You know?
Um, oh, I wanted to talk about after he had went and got those people back, Dawn.
Mhm, mhm,
That one king that was like, you can have this, you can have that.
mhm.
And, he was offering him more silver and gold, but do you know that Abraham refused it?
He said he said no. He did not. He said, I do not want you to be the one that, um, like, I don't want to have to owe you anything. I don't want you to have any kind of power over him, basically, is what he was saying. So he refused.
And you're not going to take credit.
You won't get any
You're not
credit for
going to
this.
say that you made me rich.
Exactly.
So I think that all money is not good money. This man
Hmm.
proved it. And it's
Yeah.
not all about money, because he was already wealthy, but guess what? He wasn't greedy.
Right. And
He was,
he wasn't willing to just compromise just for the sake of getting more wealth and riches. He wouldn't do it.
yeah. You say you would never go around telling people that you made me.
You the one. Yeah, absolutely.
You say God takes care of me, and God will get the glory out of my life. Don't you want God to get the glory out of your life, Dawn?
Yeah. And I think that he had enough of it, that his relationship was so close with God that he knew when to say yes and when to say no.
Yes.
So God, on the first time when Pharaoh told him to leave, and he ended up leaving with all the wealth and the riches, this time he knew that God was not saying this is something you're
Yeah.
not going to do.
Yeah.
And he was in tune with God enough to know to say, I won't do it.
There you go. There you have it. Walking with God, being in tune with God, lets you know when something is right and when something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that look good is not good for you.
Absolutely.
Everything that feels good
Yeah.
is still not good for you.
Good for you.
And
No.
God can keep, I just looked at some notes that I wrote down. Abraham was satisfied in God.
Mm-hmm.
He was content in God.
And he loved him and he respected him, and he had such a good relationship with him.
Yes,
He
yes,
respected who God was and treated him as such.
yes, he did. Um, God talks to Abraham, and um, I'm just kind of moving ahead and just kind of we're just highlighting things in this
Mm-hmm.
story. But God talks to Abraham again, and I think, what I've learned about this is that throughout his journey, there were very significant times that God would come to him. And I don't know if Abraham may have been depressed, or his wife was a little, feeling some kind of way, like, God, where are you
Mm-hmm.
at? You make these promises. But there are
Yeah.
times that God reminds them of their promise. And
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the journey with God, just for him to keep whispering,
Mm-hmm.
I got something for you. You're going to make it out. You're going to come. This is the side. You're going to come out on the other side. And
Yeah.
when he came back and promised them about having this child,
Mm-hmm.
Abraham's thinking, well, who am I
That's it.
going to leave my money to? Who am I going to? And God, is telling him, I got something for you. Believe it or not,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have an heir. You're going to have an heir. And I'm sure he's thinking, we're getting old.
Yeah. You know what I was getting out of that, because he kept telling me, Abraham, I told you, you're going to have an heir, and then, look at the stars. I know you can't count on, well, that's how much your seed is going to be. But it just reminded me that so when God makes promises to us, So if you have a relationship with him, you know that he may have said some things to you that may not have happened yet. But but just even with Abraham saying, okay, well, now I'm 99. I know I couldn't be having Sarah. She's 97. And how can we have, this heir? But to me, I kept getting out of that. God says, if I told you that I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But sometimes things just take time. So just because it didn't happen in the time that you thought it should, and then a whole lot of times, the longer that time goes by, the more impossible it seems. And he kept reminding them that I know I said this back then. Okay, so it's 13 years later, I'm saying it again, and then I'm reminding you again. And that's kind of how it is even with us. It's like if he's going to do something, he's going to do it.
Yes.
So it might not even seem like it, because it might seem like the longer that the time takes, the further away that you get from it, that it just can't happen. But nothing's impossible with God. And that's what I got out of that when he kept reminding Abraham that you're going to have, when he was going to him saying, I'm going to have to leave this to my nephew. I'm going to have to leave this to my servant. What am I supposed to do? And God reminded him, no, you're going to do it. And it just showed me that he's going to do what he said he's going to do, but he does do it in his time, but he's going to do it.
And then the whole thing with Abraham, because he's considered the father of faith.
Mm-hmm.
All throughout the Bible, it says it refers back to him and his faith and Sarah's.
Mm-hmm.
This is all what it entails, walking with God. That first, those who come to him must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't go back and forth. 1 year you go after God, and because he doesn't answer you or give you the desires of your life, then the next year you leave him, and then trouble comes, and then you come back.
Mm-hmm.
This relationship that Abraham had was ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though things didn't, work out like he thought he did, it didn't come, the major blessing that God had spoke over him, Abraham, it was inconceivable. He thought it wasn't possible. But the whole thing was, this is our example of faith, that he's kept trotting along. Okay.
Yeah, he just kept going.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know how it's going to happen. People, we have to have patience with God. We have to walk by faith and not by sight. And certainly this is a great story of faith, and a great story of not walking by what your thoughts are, and not looking at, something bad happened to me, because actually they did. This is only a small part of what really happened to them in their life. But after you are after a woman gets a certain age, and you talk, and that's why when they did come to Sarah and Abraham's house, the angels, and I think that, those angels that came, and one of them, he was bowing down to him. So I believe one of them was Christ. Because if people don't really know this, that Christ always was. From the beginning, it was God.
Absolutely.
It was Christ, and it was the Holy Spirit. They were already together. And so when they came down again in the flesh, really in the person, and revealed themselves, Abraham knew who it was, because he had been walking with God for years. And they fed them and everything, and he told Abraham, this time, did he say this time next year? This time, he said,
yes, this time next year. Yep.
He said, we're going to give
you have that son.
And Sarah is in the tent listening.
Yeah, she over there listening. She over there eavesdropping
and laughing, because
she's like, yeah, right.
She's going, shall I have pleasure?
Really?
What is this conversation?
At my age?
Should I have, I don't know if they knew about the Immaculate Conception of, when Christ came, but she's like, what? I'm almost, do you understand? I'm 89 years old. Who is going to be possible? But then he says the famous line that all Christians should know. And if you're not Christian, then here's the line. Is there anything too hard for our God? Is
Mm-hmm.
there anything too hard for God, Dawn?
Absolutely not.
I have,
Absolutely
I tell
not.
you, I have been through some things, and you have been through some
Yeah.
things, but
Yeah.
we've come out of it. What we
Mm-hmm.
thought was impossible or too hard, God
Yeah.
turned it around.
But
Flipped
that's
it
what he
upside
does,
down.
though. He does that. He makes it to the almost. There's just no way it's impossible. That's how he gets the glory.
Yes,
Because what just seems like there is just no way it could be. That's when he steps in and does what he does, and you can't do anything but glorify him because he's the only person that can cause this or make this happen. You couldn't have
yes,
done it on your own if you wanted to.
yes, yes. He is. He's faithful
Mm-hmm.
to those who are faithful to
Mm-hmm.
him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got our back when we have his back.
Mm-hmm.
He counted this man righteous
Yeah.
because he believed him and he believed in him and he
Mm-hmm.
obeyed him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think about the life of him, the long part. You know, God, why do I have to? I know because I have questioned like, why do I have to do that? And I've been impatient and I want this to happen
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
But the toil that he went through, it wasn't just about him.
Mm-hmm.
It was about all those stars in the sky and
Mm-hmm.
those grains of sand that he was
Mm-hmm.
saying, you're going through this not just for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but for others. So because of his walk of faith, all that would come after him, we are those
Mm-hmm.
stars in the sky, right? We are those grains of sand. It just wasn't
Yeah,
his
absolutely.
faith alone, but many people would read his story
Mm-hmm.
and then believe God and then trust God and
Yeah.
then walk by faith. Who
Mm-hmm.
ever heard of a 90-year-old woman giving birth, Dawn?
Mm-mm. I just, it seems so. I mean, in this day and time, it's like if you're 40, you're like, oh, and 50, you're like, oh, so 90, it just seems just
Oh,
impossible. But that's how God is. He'll just do that thing that just seems so impossible. And you can't do anything but acknowledge there's him that's done it. I
I
mean,
just remember Sarah giggling and laughing when they said that, and then
mm-hmm,
God gave them the name for the child, called
mm-hmm,
Isaac, and of course Isaac means laughter, and
mm-hmm,
so he just kind of put a stamp on it on what Sarah was doing, but
mm-hmm.
it's so unbelievable. This God is so unbelievable. He is
Yeah,
so he makes you to fall in love with him, doesn't he, Doran?
absolutely does.
Um,
Yes.
I
He really does. And I think that kind of speaks to we're talking about Abraham and Sarah's situation, but if you personalize it for yourself,
yeah,
if I just think of all the stuff that he has done for me, oh my gosh, I cannot begin to just. He's so wonderful.
he's so
You
wonderful.
can't help but just be madly in love with him because he
Yeah,
just does what no human could do, no other person can do, but only God can do.
yes. You can be satisfied in the Lord. You really can. You
Mhm.
can be content in God. Dory, I just wanted to, before we end, I just wanted to point out a couple of things um, that I wrote down that um, the reason why God loved Abraham. And I wrote down as I was reading through the word, some things pointed out to me that he walked before God, he walked with God faithfully.
Mhm.
He didn't teeter and totter. He stayed with him his entire life from when God
Mhm.
called.
Mhm.
And God said he was blameless. And God said that's why he was making his covenant with him because he was faithful, he was blameless, which is righteous.
Mhm.
So God told him because he was that way, because he believed God and he obeyed him, he was, he counted him as righteous and stuff because he believed him. But God says he made a covenant with Abraham. He told him, you'll be the father of many nations. I'm going to change your name from Abram to Abraham. So he changed his name.
Yes, he did.
He told him he
Changed
was
Sarah's name, Sarai's name too, to Sarah.
Yes. And she was faithful too. But he told me, he said, you're going to be fruitful in your life, which means you will increase, you will grow. He said, I'll make nations of you. He said, kings will come from you. And he told him that it would be an everlasting covenant that between him and Abraham. So because of what God saw in him, the qualities that this man had, the things that this man showed God, his heart, God, he's a God of the heart. And so, yes, he was not perfect, as we all are not perfect. But God saw the perfection in him, just wanting him, just the fact, and that Abraham would do the right thing. And not only would he do the right thing, but he said, because I knew that you would teach your kids, that you would teach your household, those around you, to do the right thing. And then you were an example, because everywhere he
example,
went, you're an example of righteousness, an example of faith. Everywhere Abraham went, people knew that he was serving the real and true God, because he walked it out in his life. And then they feared him because God was showing up, causing folks to get diseases, causing folks to messing with people.
Because how did they automatically went straight to him and like, why did you bring this to us? Because who are you? I know you have to be somebody for this to be happening.
There was 2 times he went into a foreign land and he told them that Sarah was his sister. So yes, we just love the story of Abraham. And we could really talk all day about Abraham. We could go on and on and on, but we're gonna end this session and we're gonna highlight some others. Keep watching.
Absolutely.
Gospel Gossip with Dawn and Paula. See you guys later.